Hey guys, welcome back to Beyond Defeat. In this video we're taking our full battery life review on the Coros Pace 2. So Coros has been renowned for extreme battery life when it comes to watches, as well as just solid bang for buck. Garmin has led the way when it comes to market share basically since GPS watches began. Coros is probably one of the only brands, they are quite a young brand, that is leading the way as far as battery life and trying to just do their own thing goes. The Pace 2 is basically the lightest watch when it comes to a GPS watch that actually is half decent and does a few things. So this is a multi-sport watch. You can do things like your riding, swimming, open water swimming, running, trail running, all that jazz, and indoor stuff as well. So if you don't have the outside facilities, some of you Americans coming into winter, not being able to have the outside facilities and luxuries that weather like summer does bring, the indoor features for ride as well as track can easily suit you. This is super light watch as well, so they do come in a nylon as well as a silicone band. The nylon is a slightly bit lighter. I personally went with the silicone, it's just a bit easier on the skin. It still makes the watch to be super lightweight, and if you want to interchange the bands, you can easily just slip it off and just purchase the nylon bands. And it's got two spring-loaded strips, so the watch bands end up being replaced in a matter of seconds. So in this video I'll kind of break down and simplify and open up the app as well and just run down on the few stats that the Coros Pace 2 actually gives you. As far as the budget for the watch goes, so this comes in at $330 Australian, and I think it's about $200 US. So for how cheap this is, kind of what that price point is, there's nothing really around that $200 price point US that even comes close to this when it comes to the actual inbuilt features that it does have, plus the sports you are able to do this with, and just the lightweight, especially with the battery life as well. So just touching on that battery life, I was trying to run this battery down. I haven't been doing a whole lot of running in the last 2 months, just with bone stress injuries, but this battery life I actually ended up getting 3 weeks and 1 day out of it. So I started using it fully charged Monday 3 weeks ago, and currently it's Tuesday, and it did go down to 1% today. Good thing about the battery life is that it does give you a notification as well when you hit 10%. So a lot of the watches I've used in the past, they basically don't give you a notification when you got a low battery until you're like at 5% or even when it's just about to die. This does give you a 10% notification, kind of lets you notify. You can easily go out for an afternoon run on a 10% battery, since the GPS, I think it handles about 30 hours when it comes to a full battery charge, so you usually got 10% of your battery there still to use. It does charge up quite quickly. You just got this nifty cable that plugs into basically any USB and just the back of the watch as well, so charge up time is quite quick as well. You can easily just plug this in overnight. Very infrequently you're actually picking up the charging cable and trying to go and charge it. Using this watch for 3 weeks now and just trying to run it flat was quite an ordeal, which is quite a nice thing to know when it comes to a GPS watch. If you are picking it up quite frequently, if you are training for an Ironman or even a marathon, even a half Ironman, you don't want to be sitting and waiting for your watch to charge, or even just have to charge it overnight or every night. And just looking at the standard interfaces you do have on the watch, there's a ton of watch faces you can choose on the Coros app, which we'll get into a bit later, but what I've got on here is just your calories, how much activity you've done for the day, as well as steps. With the steps, I've found it's probably, I know, a bit lower than other watches I've had in the past as far as accuracy. I haven't kind of compared wearing both watches each day and just kind of seeing which steps were a bit more accurate. Kind of need about 3 things on the go if you want to kind of compare accuracies across the board. But just found this did lag behind as far as steps go. When it came to cadence on the run, it was quite accurate. I felt, yeah, basically spot on. There wasn't a whole lot of lag either. If you did feel like you needed to turn over legs a bit quicker, it was quite responsive as far as the cadence went, and the average cadence was basically spot on. And just the other interface on the watch that I do have here is just the heart rate. It's not as frequent as other watches I've used. Basically the other watch I've frequently used is Garmin Forerunner 935. This isn't as frequent as far as the heart rate goes, so you don't get a kind of consistent graph. I think that kind of saves on the battery life as well, so you're not getting that consistent graph. Saying that, you don't really need to know your heart rate every hour of every day, or even every minute of every day. If you just want to have a glimpse of it, pops up within the next 10 seconds and quite easy to read. And you can easily go, it has a last 6 hours as far as the data range you actually have to choose from. The other one I have here is actually elevation. This actually does work. I've gone up to Springbrook, just on the west part of the Gold Coast, and it's about 900 meters elevation, and it does end up gradually rising up to that mark. I think you end up getting to 940 meters. Then when you come back down, it does go back to basically ground level, what elevation you are on. So it is very accurate when it comes to that, and that's similar to your heart rate. You got 6 hours worth of data on there as well. Then you got your humidity or the air pressure. I really don't care too much about that, as well as your degrees Celsius. I felt this was quite high. I'm not sure if it actually goes off body heat, but even when I was taking a shower in this, did spike up. I suppose with the hot water, it is hot around you, but I think it just works on ambient temperature as far as actual GPS temperature. So yeah, I think it works more so on your kind of personal heat or your body temperature or things close around you, apart from working things like on a GPS reading or kind of the actual near temperature to you. Then you got your, obviously your sunset, sunrise, dusk, dawn, just date. When it comes to the Bluetooth connectivity, there's no kind of luxuries that other watches can bring, like your text replies or something like that. Most of those text replies that other watches bring don't really clarify or cover too many bases anyway, so you can easily just pop out your phone. Even if you're on a run, you can just complete your run and have your run in peace and text someone at the end of it, which is usually what I prefer doing. That's kind of what the general interface is, the watch comes with, as far as what's actually built in straight off the bat. As far as the actual activities you're able to do, so you got your run, you got your indoor run, track run, bike, indoor bike, pool swim. With the pool swim as well, you can change the different lengths of the pool, and open water. With open water as well, they did advise that you do just freestyle. If you do have this underneath water for too long, it won't get a good GPS reading, and you'll end up opening your Coros app and you'll be kind of all over the place. So if you are doing open water swimming and actually want a decent GPS result and accurate pacing, they have advised just to keep it to freestyle. You got your triathlon, and obviously with each transition, you just hit the lap button, and that starts your transition from swim to bike, and then again you hit at the end of transition to swap over to bike, and then so on for the run leg. And just with the end of the triathlon, you just hit the stop. You got strength and cardio as well, so I haven't taken too much of a deep dive into this. So they do have a muscle heat map on the Coros app as well that I'll slightly touch on. I haven't used it too much. Can easily be set up for any gym goers. But there's a ton of different other features as well. Quite interesting as well as I got a stamina. I'll touch on one of the runs I did where I ended up getting that to 0 since it was quite hot and humid. I was just completely depleted of any carbohydrates. And with the stamina, it's kind of your fuel, so it kind of reads off your heart rate as well as the pacing you do, and just the temperature. So if you do have quite a high heart rate, and basically your VO2 max as well as your fitness level is quite poor, it's going to read that and basically do a calculation and just kind of give you an estimation of how much stamina you have left. So if you get that to 0, you're either going to be running into the red, or else you'll just feel that you're going to be running very depleted. I thought this was very good when it comes to a feature, so especially getting into running, you don't want to be overreaching and kind of running into an injury. So having this stamina features gives you kind of a leeway and a guidance just to not outrun yourself. Helps as well with bone stress injuries. Your bone strength, obviously you need to have a decent bit of impact in it to grow the bones as well as the muscles. So the stamina is just there for a guidance and just help people getting into running or even coming back from an injury, just to not over push themselves, since some of the muscle tissues need to build up as well. So yeah, it's basically there to stop you from getting injury prone. It is more of a guidance, I find. It does kind of tell you how much stamina you do have after a run, so if you do feel like doing a double run day, it does slightly recharge over that midday. But you can easily just check your stamina out and see if you're fully recovered or just needing a bit more time to recover from your last run. Just diving into the Coros app now, so this is where most of your data will come from. You can easily link it up with your Strava or Training Peaks or a hell of a lot of other platforms, so it's kind of that gateway. This app itself does offer you a lot of knowledge when it comes to just what you get out of the watch. So you got your activity energy, so how many calories you have burned in the activities today, and you can set up the exercise time. So exercise time I've set up here is 30 minutes a day. You can either easily do a bit lower than that. I think it has 20 as well as 10 minutes a day. Then you obviously got your steps, your average heart rate over the day, and as well as your sleep. I personally don't use this for sleep. Find it a bit irritating wearing watches to bed, but this is quite lightweight. I have slept with it a few times, but I just usually take watches off for sleeping. You do have training load down the bottom as well, so that fluctuates with how much running you've been doing, as well as how fit and how big the training session was. You got your fitness index, you got your resting heart rate, your VO2 max, your lactate threshold, and your threshold pace. And you do have your fitness level, so this is quite interesting, I found. It's a bit different to your VO2 max. This kind of compares yourself just across the board with a few other runners. So you got your just kind of beginner, male, female, sit around that 0 to 30, the recreational runners 30 to 50, then advanced and elite, so on and so forth. This does adjust with how much training you've been doing, so it can go up with +2s, +5s, and just goes off that. Obviously that feature there links up to the stamina we just touched on before, so with that fitness level being a bit higher, once you get a bit fitter, your stamina is going to last a lot longer. You're going to recover quicker from shorter runs, and you're going to be able to basically do more of an active recovery run, and the stamina bar is not going to go down as quick, and works off your heart rate as well. If you're a bit fitter, obviously your heart rate's going to be a bit lower as well. So dive into a run. I found with the Coros as well, it keeps you quite true when it comes to running, so it keeps you quite honest with your runs. We'll go to the 6 kilometre one I did a couple of weeks ago. So with the pretty accurate, I did stop I think twice. There was just a nice sunset, so I ended up taking a photo there. You can easily hover on this little bar down the bottom and just check your pace for wherever you are along on the graph. And you can easily hover that through and just dial in your pace. This is a very flat course. It's quite honest when it comes to the pacing, and I ended up just having a nice sit down here as well. So it is quite accurate as far as the graphing goes, and it does keep you quite honest. And when you come to a stop, on the watch as well, it starts a little timer. It tells you how long you've been paused for. So even if you are doing intervals and say doing 5 minutes on, 1 minute off, you can easily link that up to the watch. Basically you can push you off when the timer gets to a minute, so it makes it quite user friendly as well in that aspect. And with the elevation, I did find this quite accurate. A few other watches I've had, they just kind of spike out of nowhere, but this is a very decent gradient as far as what actually it feels in real life. So I do start on a slight bit of a hill. It's only like 13 meters above sea level, so it's not that much. Then this does go slightly bit of downhill, then it is quite flat along the whole other bit of the course. Obviously other features you do have, you got your pace per minute, your best kilometre as well as your average kilometre, and with this you can easily dive into that and kind of go across the whole board. So if you do want to pair up your pace against like your heart rate as well as your cadence, so you can easily select these few graphs and kind of compare all of them, and just see how you're pacing and compared to your cadence is, and if you end up having a higher cadence and a similar pace, and if that spikes your heart rate, you might end up just being a bit better going back to your slower cadence. So you can easily muck around a few with this. It does kind of give you a slight bit detail, and just similar to the graph before, you can easily just slide this across and just compare up. So just at 11 minutes 30, 5:25 pace, slightly slower cadence, a bit of a higher heart rate. So you can easily muck around that. Kind of if you do need to dive into that and get that detail, it is there for you to use. And you got your stride length, your running power, as well as your elevation. Now just touching on running power, haven't dove into this a whole lot. You can easily link this up to stride and do comparisons that way. A lot of people do prefer running on running power. It links up to stamina as well as heart rate quite well. If you do find if you've got quite hilly terrain, probably be better using the running power, so you get quite a consistent energy output over the whole run, as well as on trails. So obviously you don't want to be going up hills too quickly and burning the tank early on, so your running power, you can easily just run to a certain power, and the elevation of the watch takes that into consideration, and you're not going to be outrunning yourself. Now elevation, as we touched on earlier, quite accurate, as well as heart rate. So I didn't feel like this spiked out of nowhere. Wrist heart rates are quite new. They're only about a couple of years old. A lot of other brands, they started off using the chest heart rate. I personally found that very irritating. It was good to get a heart rate reading, but I felt like it kind of struggled with the breathing. It just felt a slightly bit constricting. Moving on to the wrist, it makes it Probably not as accurate since it's quite a fair way from the heart, but it is there to be used and makes it quite easy when it comes if you just want to have something there for a heart rate. Yeah, then you got obviously your heart rate zones. You can easily muck around with these and then set them up as well. Then you got your training effects. So when it comes to your aerobic as well as anaerobic, just tells you there how much that workout actually affected your aerobic as well as anaerobic, and that always links up to your VO2 max as well as your fitness calculation. And obviously your basic knowledge, your lap distance, so your kilometers, and just your average pacing. Then this is your total time as well as elapsed time. So then again, that's with keeping you kind of honest. There's kind of no real leeway. If you wanted to go out for a continuous run, you'd want both those times to link up perfectly, and if you were doing a few intervals, they'd be a bit separate. If you want to muck around with a few of the watch faces on Coros as well, you can easily go into workout data and basically select any of these apps. So obviously if you want to change all the running interfaces, you can easily link these up. Very user friendly. Instead of trying to muck around with it on the watch, hitting the back button a few times, if you want to change the top distance to basically anything, which they actually have about 40 odd different readings you're able to choose from, and you can easily chuck a few more watch faces on there if you do want a bit more information during your run. And you've got the framing up at the top as well, so you can easily customize the watch to however you like, which makes it a bit more pleasant for the runner. You're not mucking around, and you can have all of the readings there in different frames. So if you want more data on a certain screen, you can easily take there. So as far as the app goes, very user friendly. You can easily adjust a ton of it when it comes to that. Touching on previously with that muscle heat map, you can easily plug in this, what type of sets you've done, how much weight, and so on and so forth. And with the third-party app, so as I touched on before, you got Strava, Training Peaks, Run Analyze, We Run. So there's a ton of things there. You can easily link up to that, and it does sync to those very quickly after it's sunk to the Coros app. Looks like I've got to do the outro again because the camera got too hot. Anyways, summing up the watch, we'll sum it up in 3 ways. You got battery life for being the first one. Running on 3 weeks with one rechargeable battery is pretty insane when it comes to such a lightweight packaging. You got about 30 hours worth of GPS runtime. So yes, durability as far as the battery goes. Value for money. When it comes to the second point, this comes at $330 in Australia as well as $200 in the US. For such a neat little package that has a lot of accessibility, and you can get a lot of data from just having this thing on your wrist. It's pretty insane for that $300 price point. Most of the other brands are about that $500 price point Australian, if you want to get about the similar package when it comes to the watch. And third being just usability. So it is quite user friendly, a lot of customizable, and it's very simplistic at the same time. So you're not going to kind of be mucking around with the watch trying to get it to work. You can easily just connect it to your heart rate, connect it to your GPS, and just be out on the road running or riding or swimming, whatever you want to do with it. Hopefully you gained a bit of knowledge with the Coros Pace 2. I'm currently loving this watch. Just with how lightweight and just easy to use it is, plus a few little features that are in the Coros app, like the fitness level as well as the VO2 max, the threshold pace, and as well as the power wattage that this watch does come with. I'll have to deep dive a bit more into the power wattage coming in later in, even try and get myself a Stride foot pod and do a bit of comparisons between those two, which would be pretty interesting. But yeah, give us one of the likes, hit the subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see you later.